author with Starseed Metaphysical Shop. I have a special guest today, Author Woody Kuon. He's published and authored over 100 books. So, Woody, thank you for joining us today on this live. And if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, that would be great.
Sure. Hi there, I'm Woody Kuon. My real name is Woody Kuon. It's a Cambodian name. I was born in Phnom Penh, Cambodia in 1972. My family and I, we fled a war-torn country during the Vietnam War and Cambodian Civil War, and then went to a refugee camp in Thailand, and were sponsored by a Catholic family here in the Houston area. And so we came in 1975 when I was 3 years old. Didn't speak any English, didn't have any money, and we just worked hard, studied, and was able to I loved art, and so I went to college for art and studied illustration, and then became a teacher, and then eventually started illustrating, writing children's books. Then I have a publishing company, so I publish books for other writers and illustrators as well. And I travel and I speak at schools, conferences, workshops all across the country. And then since then, just been investing real estate in the stock market, and just it's been a great journey, and I feel like I'm living the American dream. So yes, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, that's amazing. My father's a Mexican immigrant, and I was born in California, so I don't have that going on like you and him, but I know his story, and it is the American dream to come here and to have opportunities that you wouldn't otherwise have.
Yes.
And that's amazing. So you were a teacher. So what subjects did you actually teach?
I taught at Fort Worth Country Day School in Fort Worth. It's a private school. I taught third grade in elementary, and seventh and eighth grade in middle school, and all of high school. I taught art and photography. So yes, I only took one photography class in college, and that was it. But then somehow I was able to be qualified enough to teach photography, but I was able to take that program, which just had one small high school class, and grow it into multiple classes, and then into middle school classes. And we went from winning no award to like stealing the show at all the awards, photography awards after. So I'm very proud of that. So I'm not a photographer professionally, but I think the training that I learned from Rhode Island School of Design, which is like the top visual arts school in the country, has really helped me, and I was able to kind of pass that on to the students. So I was very proud of my 2 years teaching.
That's amazing. I know I have friends that are teachers, and one.
I don't hear you anymore for some reason.
Oh, you don't hear me? I don't know what's going on here. Sorry. Let me plug it back in.
This is my first live interview, so I'm going to be curious to see what happens. Can you hear me? That's odd.
Can you hear me?
Is there something I need to do on my end?
I don't think so.
I hear myself, but I don't hear you.
You don't hear me? Okay. I might have to get my other earphones. I might have to go get it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna run over there. I'm gonna go over there and get more earphones. These just are not. These are not doing well.
With empty air time, I'm not sure if anyone can hear me at all, but I do have some of my books here. The first book, Humpty Dumpty After the Fall.
Okay, I'm gonna put on these other earphones.
Page.
Can you hear me? No?
In the monster
Okay.
vacuum.
I'm gonna put on my other earphones. Sorry.
Uh, Elmer the dog.
Connected. Let me. Audio. Okay. Now I have my other earbuds on. No?
I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything.
I can hear you.
I can hear myself, but I can't hear you.
Okay. What's going on here? Let me. Can you hear me now? No? Okay. I don't know what's going on here. Sorry, this is crazy. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Text you.
Okay. Yeah. I have no idea what's going on. Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can, but I can't hear you on the other thing.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, because, and by the, I mean, I can edit all this stuff out later, but,
Um, if we keep this going, I can hear you. I don't know if people can hear on the stream though, but I can hear you here and I can see you on the bigger screen.
oh, so is my voice coming out okay, like this?
Yes, I can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay, so maybe we could just continue this way, and then, as long as it's on, you can hear on your end, and,
You think this stream will pick up both voices?
yeah, let me unplug my earphones. Can you, here, let me mute you over here. Can you say something now?
I can't hear you anymore.
Okay. Oops. Yeah. I think we're good to go.
I can hear you on my phone. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. You think it'll work?
Yeah, I think so. I just want to make sure that people that are watching can hear.
Okay.
Let me. I'm gonna pull up a YouTube Live and see if I can hear. Yeah.
Hello? Should
Okay.
I talk? It's working?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're good to go. Sorry. Okay. So where were we? So as far as teaching, so what got you into writing books?
Let's see. Well, I loved art as a kid, and so I decided to study art at Rhode Island School of Design, and so I went into illustration. So that was my major, and there I had professors like David Macaulay, Barry Moser, and Chris Van Allsburg taught there, and so anyway, some very renowned children's book illustrators and authors were teachers there. And so, having taken some of their classes, I wanted to like collect their books because I was like, oh wow, they're a celebrity in that field. And so I thought, maybe I didn't have a lot of money as a student, so I try to go to like the Buck of Books, discount bookstores, see if I could find their books, and then bring it to them and get them to sign my books. And so I wanted a collection of their books autographed before I left college. And so I just got really enjoyed. I just love children's books. Growing up, I loved comic books, and I collected comic books, and so I was starting to collect children's books. And so from their influence, they kind of taught me how the whole process was done, how to illustrate, design, storyboard. And so we even had some writing projects. And so my professors were very instrumental in inspiring me to want to do what they did, because I saw what they did and they were the experts at it. And so I was able to have Barry Moser and David McCauley as my advisors to a degree project in my senior year of college. And that degree project was to basically start and finish my very own children's book from start to finish. And so that's how Humpty Dumpty After the Fall came to be. And I had them guiding me through the whole process. So by the end of my senior year, I had finished the illustrations and the writing, and then I mocked up my own book and made a hardcover for it and everything. And so so really through my professors in college, they're my biggest inspirations. My seventh grade art teacher, though, Mr. McGinnis, he was a huge inspiration to me in my wanting to become an artist. So it started from seventh grade there. My father also was a painter. He loved to oil paint, and he did like sunsets and scenery. And so I think I was also inspired by him, and I probably got some of my natural ability passed on from my father too. So
That's amazing. It's amazing to have mentors in our life, and people that actually have an interest in, you and your dreams, because not everybody has that, or has a mentor, or, a family member that kind of understands what you do.
yes.
And so that's great. So out of all your books, which one is your actual favorite and why?
Oh wow, that's a tough one. Well, I usually say Humpty Dumpty After the Fall. That's my very first book. I have over 100 books published now, because very sentimental reasons being my first. That one actually, besides being my degree project, I had become a Christian in college, my sophomore year of college. And so I actually wrote that as a Christian children's book. And so it was funny, the very first draft, it said at the end, Humpty Dumpty after the fall, helped the needy at every call. He reached out to the men and all the townsmen. Anyway, and they accepted Jesus Christ and was born again. So anyway, it was a very knock 'em over the head Christian children's book. My professors told me, though, if you want to reach the masses, you need to tone it down, because you're only going to be preaching to the choir and just reaching other Christians. So so I was just like really excited about my faith at the time, and just wanted to just get it out there. So but then I toned it down, went into like rewrote like 20 different revisions until I finally got it to where it was. And so I was able to still instill that message of hope and faith, but without being too blatant about it. And so which I think was the right move, because I've been able to travel and speak at schools, workshops all over the country, and just repeatedly just keep doing it for 27 years now, and has been very, very successful. And so I think their advice was very sound advice.
That's great. That's really great. So I saw on your website that you actually do school assemblies. So if you could just kind of walk us through what you actually do at the school assemblies with the kids.
Sure. My author visits that I do, I usually speak mostly at elementary schools. I also speak at middle schools, high schools, college groups, and adults as well. And believe it or not, it's pretty much the same presentation that I do with all the different ages, but I adapt my personality and my voice and voice inflections and to that different age level. So I start off, it's usually about a 45-minute presentation. I start off and do an introduction. I tell the kids about my own personal story of being a Cambodian refugee during the Vietnam War, Cambodian Civil War, how we escaped to Thailand as refugees and were sponsored by a Catholic family in America, came here to actually went through California. We went to, I think, Camp Pendleton, I believe, in California, and stayed there before we went to Houston. And so, and how we were very poor, didn't speak English, and I was a naughty boy. So when I started school in kindergarten, first grade, I actually used to get spanked. And so I got spanked by the principal, kindergarten, first grade, because I was being naughty. And I think I acted up because I couldn't speak English very well. And so that was my way of communicating to other people, by being silly and acting up, since I didn't really speak English very well. So I got spanked. But that kind of helped me kind of turn around. In second grade, I went to a new school, Ed White Elementary School in Houston ISD. And there, my teacher, Mrs. Dory, my second grade teacher, she asked me to read this book called Pug. And so I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, oh gosh, she's going to just like tell me, like criticize me for, getting things wrong like I'm used to. So I was like, okay, I just want to read it fast and just get out of there. I don't care. I'm just going to get it done. So I read it really fast. Pug, see pug run, see pug run fast. I just read it really fast as I could, and I wanted to just sit down. And she's like, wait. No. You are such a good reader. You go sit in the Bluebird group. And so I was like the top group. That's the smartest kids. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm a Yellowbird. I'm not a top student. I'm a bottom student. And so she put me in the top group. And from that point on, I just was inspired. I was like, what? She thinks I'm a top student? She thinks I'm a good reader? No one ever told me that before. And once she put that in my head, I started believing it and saying, wow, if she believes in me, maybe I have something here. And so I started working harder and striving to do better. And from second grade on, instantaneously, I went from like a C student to a straight A student, just like that, because my teacher inspired me through children's books. And so that really stuck with me from back then. And so I really have a heart for children's books. And so I think that's why I do what I do today.
That's amazing. And so I was wondering, how did you actually learn English? Did you just like watch, television and cartoons and, just being around friends at school, or?
Yes, a lot of it was cartoons. I love watching Bugs Bunny cartoons. I love cartoons. I love comedies. I think I did get a lot from that. Also, I know that in like kindergarten, since I really didn't understand English, what I remember was that I would just look up at the walls. They would have, like these posters, like A is for apple, B is for a bee, and they have a picture and a letter, and I just looked at that all day. And so that, because I just didn't understand anything else. But I wasn't in ESL classes or anything like that, so I basically was immersed, and I just had to kind of figure it out on my own. And so I think because of that, I was able to not have a heavy accent. And I think from what I was told, my English is, it doesn't have that kind of heavy Asian accent, which I find interesting because my oldest sister, I'm the youngest of 5 kids. My oldest sister has, I think, the heaviest Asian accent. My second oldest sister, probably next, then my oldest brother. Yeah, his is a little more toned down, and then my brother Tony passed away, but then me, so, I'm the youngest. And so I think the younger you are, the more years you've lived in America and fewer years you lived in another country, it seems like our accents kind of fluctuate depending on where we, were in our lives when we came here. So I don't know, I find that fascinating. So
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I mean, I wonder about that too, because I do know, other immigrant families, and I even asked my dad, I'm like, they didn't have ESL back in the 50s. Like, how did he learn English? And he said that he was about your age, like 5, and he would just play with neighborhood kids when they visited LA. and those kids taught him English, because kids are very receptive at a young age to learn languages, and they would just point, car, that's a chair, and like he started, with
Right.
objects, and he wanted to be their friends, so he just picked it up, and so I think that's pretty cool that other kids kind of just helped, and that you had a knack for it, because not everyone is able to absorb it like that, and really have to go to classes and all that to absorb it. So, and English is not one of the easiest languages to learn exactly, and so that's amazing that you picked up on that. And um, I just want to
And
talk a bit about to move over to marketing books, because I'm
before we go on, I actually didn't finish answering your previous question. I started
okay.
to, and I didn't. Would you like me to finish answering the previous question? Would that be okay? Because you're
Yeah,
asking
no,
me about my presentations, and I told you some of it, but would that be okay?
yeah, no, I definitely want to know more about your presentations.
Okay. Well, I tell about my story first, and then I go into a dramatic book reading. So I'll read my first book, Humpty Dumpty After the Fall, and it looks like this. And throughout the whole book, Humpty Dumpty never shows his face. So the kids get to become my illustrators and help me create Humpty Dumpty's new face. So they come up and they volunteer, and fast one to raise their hand. After I raise my hand, they get to come up and pose for the legs and arms and the face, and then vote on the teacher with the coolest hair. And so I'll draw her hair. So then we name the Humpty Dumpty drawing after the teacher, principal, gym coach, and so they get to keep that. I sign it, and they get to frame it up and hang it up for everyone to see. So yeah, so that's my presentation. So now we can move on.
That's really cool. I like how it's interactive, and how the kids are, learning to work as a team, be interactive, and then hopefully, they start thinking to themselves, "Hey, I can do that. I can write
Okay.
a book. I can, draw, illustrations, and I'm going to come up with my own idea." And it's really inspiring that they see how the mechanics of it works. So it's not something that they think, oh, that's for someone else. It's not for me,
Right.
it becomes like reality to like touch and feel and like help it. So I think that's really cool that you have them build like the Humpty Dumpty, putting it back together.
You.
But yeah, so a question that I get often from other authors that I'm helping to publish, a few, I got two or three, is marketing. And ultimately, I tell them that, it's really on you as the author to do your own marketing. And yes, Facebook ads are expensive, Amazon ads are expensive, even traveling around, nationwide. So locally, I try to get out there as an author, and do, a few events, like, a year. And social media, of course, is a big one for me. Are there any pointers from you nowadays how we can use those tools effectively, and where to, kind of spend our time better?
Oh, definitely. So I've been doing this for about 27 years. My first book came out in 1996. So I had to figure out how to market in an age where there was no internet, or, everything was face to face, phone calls, just a lot of direct contact. So also mailers, you'd send out things in the mail, snail mail. So early on, like when my first book came out, I remember I was so excited because when the first printing came out, and then I like just cutting the box open, opening it up, and seeing my name on the book, I was so excited. Now, before it came out, I already started marketing before the book actually was released. And so I think a lot of people, they think, oh, I can't do anything now because I have to wait till the book comes out to do something. No, 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 no. You have to always start early and prepare and plan. So when I was a teacher, I had already had my book accepted by a couple of publishing companies who wanted to publish the book. But my brother-in-law encouraged me. He's an entrepreneur himself, very successful entrepreneur, but he offered me to help support my new company, and so he gave me a loan which I used to start my first printing. And then when the book came out, I had to actually kind of figure out what to do. So initially, there was a company in Fort Worth, a publishing company that wanted to publish the book. And they said, we need to do some test marketing to make sure this will be, will sell. And I was like, you know what? I'm so excited. I'll do it for you. I'll go out there and I'm going to find all these orders just to make just so you know this is marketable. So I said, how many pre-orders do you need? And he's like, well, we can go into a small run of like 1,000 books. So I don't know, maybe 500 or so. And so I was like, I'll get you those 500 orders. So I went. I contacted everyone I knew, had them all just reserve a book. I had and then I literally just went door to door in my neighborhood, just knocked on people's doors and showed them my illustrations and then my mock-up book, and had them preview and you know order books in advance. And so I had over 500 pre-orders already, and I was ready to give it to the publishing company. And then my brother-in-law said, hey, this book is going to be successful. Why are you giving all the profits to another company? And I was like, yeah, you're right. And that's when he offered me a loan to start my own company. So I had to research and figure out, how do I do this? So I went to Barnes and Noble and bought two books. One book about self-publishing that I read cover to cover, and then another book that I bought that was more detailed, and I used that as a reference book. And so I just read it, and I talked to other authors, I talked to other publishers, I talked to other people, and try to learn from them. And so when I had my first book come out, I was already gonna be profitable, like immediately, because I already had the 500 orders. So not only that, but I was like, I can order, instead of 1,000, I can order 2,000. So I went ahead and ordered 2,000. And before the books, like when the books came out, pretty much like I had enough to pay back the loan and go order a second printing. So I went almost into an immediate second printing, and then was able to use those profits into a third printing, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10 printings of Humpty Dumpty after the fall. And then each year after that, I would have one book project. So I was an illustrator for another small company. I did Theodore Was Here. And then another small company asked me to illustrate Willie and the World Wide Web. That was my third book. But then I noticed I was making very small profits from other books as a freelance illustrator. But the books that I produced with my company, Providence Publishing, I was making very high margins. And so I decided to go ahead and publish more books, and then other people started asking me how I did it. And so I started working with other talented people, and I was very picky with who I wanted to select to work with me. So if they were very talented and I felt like they had the X factor, I would work with them. But my focus is, like, you have to have high quality work, artwork, writing, presentations, marketing. It's all high quality. It's all, most people try to self-publish a book and it looks really bad, looks really cheap, and no one wants it. So for me, it's all about quality, quality, quality. And when I get out there and I do my presentations, I make sure the kids are happy, laughing, and enjoying themselves. And so once you have really high expectations for everything, it comes out, everyone sees it, and they want to be a part of that. But if you start off with a low quality illustrations, low quality books, people see that and they don't think you're worth anything. So I think that's where most people mess up, because they start off small and low and they put themselves down. And they say, oh, I'm just going to give away everything for free because I'm not worth it. So, and then people see that. So I think if you can start with that mindset first, then I think you can be very successful after that. And so now I've, worked as a consultant. So people hire me just to do some small business consulting for them and kind of teach them the ways of the business as well. So, but there's a lot more details, but that I think is the crux of it. That's the basics that you need to start off with.
Yeah, definitely. And I like how you're pointing out quality, quality over quantity, because my first children's book, and I only have one, I'm working on the second one, but it hit Kindle bestseller, and I think it's because of the quality of the illustrations of my illustrator. She's done about, I think, 30 books or more, and she's hit bestseller on a few of them. because she is an award-winning illustrator. She's a professional. She does storyboards for movies, and someone else actually recommended her to me. And actually, he's an author now of children's books, and I'm an investigator, so I looked at all of her books, all of her work. I liked her style. She doesn't use AI. She does use, graphic designing here and there, but, she does her sketches by hand, which is really, cool nowadays, because in the author groups on Facebook, I'm seeing there's a big, not fight, but a lot of comments about, AI for illustrations, because now Kindle, direct publishing, Amazon will actually ask you, when you publish a book, did you use AI? And if so, was it minimal AI, a medium amount of AI, whatever that is, or a maximum amount of AI? And I'm answering no, because my illustrator is pretty exclusive with her, her hand illustrations and sketches and all that, which is
Right.
really appreciated from me. So I think that's something to be aware of in modern times, and as the AI thing. And I'm not necessarily saying it's a good or a bad thing, but I think that more laws and rules are going to come out about authors or illustrators that say that they're the ones illustrating it. If the AI is doing 90% of it, are you really the one illustrating it? And what's your take on that?
To be honest, I am pro technology. I'm 51 years old, so I'm not the best at technology. My high school son's a lot better than I am, but I'm pro advancement. I'm pro just I think we just have to kind of adapt to how what's given to us. So with AI, like for me, like I've actually just use some of it if I just need something done very quickly, and because they could do a lot better job than I could in that amount of time. And so I think it's very useful. I think there's a lot of dangers as well, of course, and it probably will take a lot of jobs away from people, but it might create more jobs as well. And so right now, I'm not really semi-retired, but I kind of semi-retired a little bit during COVID, and just wanted to kind of enjoy life. But I'm still working because I enjoy it. So I don't feel like there's competition in what I do. The AI robots aren't giving dynamic presentations yet, so I think I'm safe right now. So, but yeah, things will change. We just have to kind of adapt to it, I think.
That's true. I don't see like an AI robot like taking your place anytime soon, like doing an assembly like interactive and running around with the kids and stuff. So that's yeah, I think you're safe there for now. So I mean, as far as local marketing, are there any pointers? I mean, other than door to door, which now with the internet it's a little bit
They don't do
different.
that anymore.
Do you think it's worth it, like going to Barnes and Noble locally to to book signings, or to go to like a fair to sell your books? Because I've done a couple of them, and I've sold, yeah, like 20, 30 books, but nothing big.
Right, right. I think for me, I did that. Like early on, I went and tried to get on all the television networks I could. So when network television was a thing, when I was younger, it was
Yeah.
all about ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox Television. If you were on those networks, that was a big thing. So that was my goal. I wanted to make sure I was on every single large network, and so I was able to do that. And then because of that, I was able to put it on my promotional materials. Hey, I was on these networks, and then I hear the videos. You can watch the videos, and so it just gives you more credibility. I also did the Barnes and Noble tour, Borders bookstores. So up, in the east. From the east to the west to the Midwest, the central. So I went to different states and did book tours, and I didn't make much money off it, but it was really about the clout. It was just, that people know that I was there. The bookstores were carrying the books. And so I did a lot of that early on in my career. But once I did it, and I was through, then I kept going. Then I advanced to the next thing. So I think for credibility's sake, you can do these things, but I don't think you should stay too long in beginning stages. I think you need to keep advancing. I used to do craft shows, and there's like other types of places where you can get booths and sell books and do book signings. I used to go to TLA, Texas Library Association conference every year, and sell my books, and also schedule school visits there. And so I did, all of that. I did, yeah, just kind of worked really hard and just hustled and got my name out there. But in time, once you start building the reputation, people already start knowing of you. They pass your name around, and then pretty soon, it's a lot of word of mouth. And so yeah, so for me, the word of mouth is really the big thing, especially being a professional speaker and traveling and speaking. People want to know that you're really good at it. You can entertain the audience. You can inspire them to want to become writers and love books. Because from what I hear, there are a lot of authors out there who might do speaking engagements where the kids are so bored and they're just falling asleep, and they're, or it's not only not inspirational, but it's also like the opposite. It takes them the opposite direction and makes them hate books and not want to be an author and not want to read
Yeah,
books. So
it's not
it's
good.
very important that if you're getting yourself out there, that you're going to be really dynamic and very entertaining, and and your message is on point, and you've got high quality books. And one thing you said, it's quantity over quality over quantity. I actually don't believe that. I think it's quality plus quantity, because for me, I'm I'm always thinking big, big quantities. How am I going to reach my goals and have very high expectations of myself? I need the quantity as well. And when you have quantity, a lot of times, from a marketing perspective, you need the larger quantities in order to get better margins. So if you think in larger quantities as well as high quality, that's where the secret is. You can't go high quality books and in very small quantities unless they're like limited edition, and then you make them very special books. But besides that, you want large quantities getting out there, repeated over and over and over again. So yeah, so for me, it's quality plus quantity. So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for pointing that out. I was just thinking quantity, not as far as like book orders, because of course I want a 50,000 book order, but quantity as in I don't want to do over 100 books because I just don't. But I'd be willing to do two, three, four, five English and Spanish editions. And then I'm going to move on to adult, like non-children's books. But that's just me because I'm utilizing the children's books as kind of a gateway to non-children's books to kind of leapfrog over there. But so I'm not going to exclusively only do the children's books. So that's why I say that. But you're right, because when you start thinking with a larger scale and bigger numbers, and just that you're able to make deals with other businesses and schools, then you have that confidence to actually approach them. And so that kind of made me think of something else. How did you start approaching schools, like, and get that confidence and quote unquote sell yourself? Like,
sure.
I guess in recent days, is it emails and a phone call, and just provide them with a sample of one of your books, and how does that work?
Sure. Early on, yeah, it was mostly phone calls. And yeah, I just would call, and I might send some mailers out, but mailers didn't really seem to work that well for me because they just get so much mailers and mail that it doesn't really sing out. So but really, I think that direct one-on-one contact on the phone, or if you can meet them in person, that could work as well, but that's harder to do sometimes. So but then when they actually talk to you, they can actually get a sense of your personality, how well you would do with the kids, and so that really does help. But nowadays, it's a lot of emailing, so, and then I send out links to my website, or maybe links to some YouTube videos so they can see what I've done. They can see the reviews. So it's mostly emails, and then and still phone calls once they're interested and you start trying to schedule the visits and the details and so forth. But nowadays it's mostly emails. But I think it's very important, that you carry yourself professionally, and you are able to be on time and do what you say you're going to do. Of course, you'll make mistakes, but you really try to make sure that you do everything just very high quality. Make sure you're a man or woman of your word, and what you say you're going to do, you follow up. And so they can just know that they can trust you. And then they ask their friends, and then their friends like, yeah, he's really good. You can trust him. He will do what he says, and he's going to have an impact. Really, the biggest thing is that they can know that you will have an impact. So if you're just doing it for the money, or you're just doing it for I don't know, just to be known, and you're not really focused on your audience and the kids, then I think a lot of it comes through. So for me, my tone of voice, my personality, even my tone of voice in writing the emails, and so all of that is important. So you're very focused on a lot of the details of how you come across. So
Definitely, I agree with all that, and I'm just in my infantile stages of approaching schools, and at this point, I'm not known as much yet. So I donated my book to our 5-year-old son's school, and plan on doing that in other schools in the area. What about giving your book to libraries? Do you actually go to local libraries and donate your books or anything like that?
I don't do as much with the public libraries. I have donated books before in the past. One thing that I try to be careful with, though, is that I don't want to. I don't want to be too desperate where I'm trying to give everything away, because then people see that they see the desperation. They know that, well, you are desperate. You really want to give your books away, give your presentations away. So they know that, they see it, they sense it, and then it doesn't look good on you. So I was a part of the Les Brown speakers group. I don't know if you're familiar with Les Brown, but he's a very renowned motivational speaker. And I was in Orlando speaking to his other speakers in his group about publishing. And when I went there, like, I was watching him speak, and he said something that was very profound. Because but basically all the people who came, they want to be like him, because he charges a very high premium for his services, for his speaking engagements, and he charges the people who want to learn from him a very high premium. And his message was that, like, if you're not able to pay a high premium for speaking, how can you expect someone else to pay a high premium for your speaking? So basically, if you don't believe in the power of the word, the power of inspiration, then how is anyone else going to believe it with you? And so I also did some training with Zig Ziglar. He's passed away now, but he's a very wonderful man, great motivational speaker. I did some training with Anthony Robbins' group. And so anyway, so I try to learn from some of the best. And so I was able to kind of get from them that you have to value yourself very high so that you can deliver. But if you put yourself down low, then you can't. But I will have to say, when I first started out, I did give free visits. I did give away books for free, because in the beginning, you're not up there yet. You're just starting out. So you need to figure out how to get yourself out there. So to get my name known in different school districts, I actually would give away one free school visit for one school that might need it most. And then with that one school, I have to go there and just knock it out of the park. And if I'm great, then they will pass the word to the rest of the district. But if I'm horrible, they will pass the word through the rest of the district. So you have to be great. But I was able to give away free ones early on, and that's how I started getting my name known. But I don't just give away, I don't do like just free visits, or I'm not desperate anymore for anything. So now, like, I just want people to know that, they're if you're good, you should value that. If you're not, then you need to get good. So
Yeah, and I'm glad, and I appreciate your input there, because through the local Chamber of Commerce, I met a lady who owns a yoga studio, and we're going to do a kids monthly yoga, and I'm going to do a story time reading my book, and then my book leads into, at the end, I don't remember if I emailed it to you, I will email you a copy, but the end of it goes into like a quick meditation instruction. And so it's like a segue into like the 5-minute, kids yoga session, and then we do coloring and like fun activities. So I'm really excited to do that. So, and to see if I can have, my husband video it, share it on social media, and then share it with other yoga studios in the area, like the Sacramento area, and show them and say, hey, look, I can come do a story time, and then we can, segue with a yoga instructor and kind of go from there. And then, then they'll carry my book there at the yoga studio. So I'm trying to figure out how to, like you said, knock it out of the box with my, premiere over here with the story time. So hopefully that goes well.
yeah, we could talk about that more in detail too if you'd like. I'll give you my 2 cents worth if you'd like.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I would appreciate that. We can do that offline as well. So I actually have another book that is a STEM-based science book. Do you have any input for how to use a STEM, like outer space book, and as with your background as a teacher, and maybe ideas, because I think the yoga meditation book is kind of more obvious to me, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know much about STEM. I taught art and photography, and I don't think it was stressed much at the private school that I taught at. But I do know if you have an angle, if let's say you said yours is about space.
Yes, it's outer space and like physics and geometry.
Okay, I would suggest if you have kind of that angle, that niche, then I would start looking at the audience where that would appeal to. So nowadays, of course, we have Facebook groups and a lot of other groups that you can reach out to. So if you need to figure out what you want to do with it. Like, what are your real goals? Do you want to be successful? Is it more financially? You want to be just more well known? You want to just be out there speaking, sending a message? What is your main goal first? And once you figure out what your main goal is, then you start developing a marketing plan, a business plan to go towards those goals. So I would always come up with a goal first. Like I used to play golf. Now I like disc golf, so it's it got a lot of similarities. But when I was studying golf, there's like the mental game of golf. There's a lot of visualization. So if you want to be successful at golf, what I learned was you look at the goal first. You look at the hole way, way down there. Then you imagine backwards. So you imagine the ball inside the hole, and then you imagine it rewinding up, over, and then kind of rolling back, and then bouncing like this, and then going up. What the direction is going up in the air, back, all the way to your T from where you are. So you imagine that line exactly, where from your goal on backwards. And then all you have to do is just replicate it going forward because you see that line that you already drew in there. Now, you're not going to get it in the hole every single time on your drive, but if you can imagine that, then you're going to get a whole lot closer on your drives than if you didn't do it that way. So I started kind of using that. What is your goal first? And start thinking backwards. What are the little steps that takes you all the way back? And then you kind of go according to that. So I would also say, imagine the successes too. Like, a lot of people have very low success rate in business because they don't truly believe that they can do it. They don't have the proof that they've done it in the past, so how can they do it now? But because I produce so many books, I just know that if I come up with an idea, if I wanted to produce a book on anything, I can. But I will think about, what is it about? What is it going to look like? Who's going to be part of it? And why are people going to love it? So I think of all those details and before I make a decision to go forward with it. So I don't want to do anything unless I really have a lot of confidence in it. And then that way I'm coming across with that same confidence with each project. So I will admit, I would have done freelance illustrations. So sometimes I'm hired to do a job and I'm not in charge of the business model or the marketing. I'm just hired to illustrate. And so it is what it is. If they want to hear from me, they can. If they don't, that's fine. But if they need me to illustrate, I'll illustrate. If they need me to write, I'll write. But if I can have control of the process, I'm going to make sure that it is going to be successful, and I'm going to think how and then work backwards and figure it out to get there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate that input because I have an MA in organizational leadership. I also have an ABA, so it's one thing to actually just write down a business plan or even write down a goal. It's another thing to actually execute it. And you're right. My goal is not necessarily financial, other shit here. It's more like being renowned and getting my work out there and blasting it out there. But I also want to stay in business and don't want to keep giving away 500 books for free. I just want to do it, kind of like here and there until I become known at least locally.
Mm-hmm.
And and then like you said, word of mouth, because even just in one school giving a few books away, I got, of course they didn't do Amazon reviews, but they went up to my husband and kept saying, oh, that's a great book, we really like the book, and there was like 4 or 5 teachers that said that. And so I'm going to actually see them later today at a grandparents' day assembly, and kindly ask them, please write an Amazon review, because I really, I only have 18 reviews, and I really appreciate your feedback as an educator, because I'm not a teacher myself, and, thank you for your help, and then I'm hoping that, that'll boost my reviews a bit. But as far as the STEM book, I did a little bit of research with a social worker author named Deadly Magic from Boston, Massachusetts, and he does school assemblies as well, and has his own children's book, at least one that I know of. And I was pretty excited when I did his Reading with a Kid podcast a couple months ago, because he said he had never seen a STEM-based geometry book. And he's done about 1,300 podcasts, where he interviews children's authors. So that could either be a good thing or not a good thing, depending on how I market it, right?
Yes.
And so, again, I'm not a physics professor. I'm an accountant type that, loves geometry. I'm with the space theme spinoff, because space is a very big, theme for kids. So I'm hoping that that's going to be a good thing, and that I can, market that podcast as a segue of that book. And I believe the space book is probably going to be better even than the meditation book that I Kindle that bestseller because most people want the paperbacks for their kids or hardcovers, and that was only on the ebook side that hit bestseller. So now I'm working on the physical, and then figuring out how to sell direct because, as you know, Amazon takes about a 30% cut.
Right.
So where do you actually have your books published? Do you try to sell direct mostly on your website, or do you have Amazon, or do you kind of do Barnes & Noble? I kind of use all three of them.
Yeah, I've done all of them, but to be honest, with all the other, a lot of these methods, a lot of these venues, the percentages are so small that it doesn't really make that much sense, because if you're not getting large quantity of sales and you're having to put in a lot of the extra effort to package the books, buy the materials, and mail it out, and you're putting more effort but you're getting very small returns, I just have to kind of weigh out where the best time, how to best spend my time. So for me, it's mostly through the speaking engagements, through school visits and speaking at workshops, and so when I do my speaking engagements, then it's direct to consumer. So you have the best margins, and you have the best numbers. So when you do, so I'll work one day, and probably a lot of times I might work one day and make more than I've ever sold on Amazon, online, combined. So it's such an astronomical difference. So those other ways, I've done it just to say I've done it, but it's not really part of my business strategy.
Yeah, completely. That makes sense. So I will try to focus on my presentation with the yoga story time. And because, just in the Sacramento area alone, there's probably 100 yoga studios that are doing, most of them probably doing kids yoga. And if not, maybe I can talk to them about starting that even just monthly. So I'm hoping that that'll be a nice little, niche. But I don't want to keep you over an hour here, Woody. So if there's any last words that you want to,
Sure,
give to authors or publishers, especially newbies.
Yes, I do. Thank you for that. Well, I wanted to kind of share that, I'm hoping that I can inspire some people. Like I said, I travel and I speak and I try to inspire kids everywhere. But I know for here we're trying to inspire some newbies, other writers and people who want to get into this business. So I want to let them know that it is very possible to be very successful in this business. A lot of people will tell you doom and gloom, don't do it, just start small and don't expect anything, you can go pay $50 for an illustrator in India or whatever, which you can, but you just really want to really figure out what you really want to do with it, and you can be very successful. Like for me, I was able to, I love telling this story. Okay, I'll try to go through it kind of quick. When I was little, I remember first time I actually made money on something, my brother hired me to fold the Houston Chronicle newspaper and put them in bags or put a rubber band around it, and then he would go deliver it. And he said, if you do this for me, I will pay you 1 penny for every paper that you prepare. I was like, oh, wow, 1 penny. Back then it was in the 1970s. And so I was like, okay, if I do this many papers, then I'll make this much. And so I was like, that is wonderful. I can make, and then I got, a little older in elementary school. I started selling my illustrations. People like my drawings. I did little cartoon drawings and started selling them for 10 cents for a drawing. And then it started getting more popular, so I raised it to 25 cents. So people pay 25 cents for a drawing that I did. And then in time, I went to middle school. In middle school, I started selling Snickers bars for the Spanish club, and they would sell for 50 cents per Snickers bar. So I was kind of thinking along the lines of 50 cents. And so whenever I was out of those Snickers bars, my mom had a Sam's membership, and she could buy the Snickers bars for like maybe 25 cents each on average. And then I could sell them. So I could make 100% margin, and I would just put it back in the Spanish club bag and then just sell it. And then I went to high school. My teacher started wanting to buy my artwork, and they were starting to pay me like $10, $20, $50, and so I started kind of moving up. And then so in time, I just started from really small increments, and I started thinking from like 1 cent on up to, and so as you get older, you start kind of going up levels. Up in college, of course, then I started kind of, being on my own, and so, like $100 became like, that starts becoming the threshold. Oh wow, if you get $100, then that's a big deal. Then after I graduated, started teaching. Then I started making money as a teacher. I only made like $25,000 a year at a private school, but I was getting paychecks that were like thousands of dollars. So I'll work a month and maybe make a couple of $1,000s. So I was like, okay, now I'm in the thousands. My mindset's in the thousands. Then after that, I started my publishing company, and then I started doing school visits, and then I started, and I started making like, in a week I might make, like tens of thousands, so I was starting to think in tens of thousands. I started taking that money and then started investing in real estate. And then like my first, I did like rental properties, but then the first one that I actually bought in Bel Air, which is a nice neighborhood in Houston, but it had old houses. And then I bought it, and then I met a builder. He helped me like build a brand new house. We tore down the old house, and in a little over a year, I profited over $100,000 profit, doing absolutely nothing. All I did was sign some papers and meet the right people, and was able to profit 6 figures in just 1 year doing like nothing. And so it was amazing. But I had built up my reputation, my credit score, and everything. I just built up and up. And so now I was in the hundreds of thousands. That became my threshold. And then I started taking that money and started putting in the stock market. And then, you win some, you lose some. I lost a lot in the stock market as well. But I was fortunate enough, I invested in Tesla at a good time, and I was able to have 200,000 that I had put in go up in a year to $1.2 million of value. And so the 100,000, then I started going into 7 figures. Now I'm starting to think in the millions. So this is like, of course, market goes up and down. I was able to use, a lot of that money to pay off my house. And so, but it's just fascinating that you go from like thinking 1 cent from you when you were small, and now you're in the 7 figures in your mindset, So what I want to say is, I know it took me a long time to get there, but I want anyone from 1 cent, 10 cents, a dollar, 10, all the way up to the million. Like at any point you're here, you can keep going up. Most people will go up here and then stay here, or maybe go down, but I just want to encourage people that it is very possible to do very well in this business, but they have to have a different mindset. They can't just have the same mindset of low quality self-published books, bad illustrations, bad writing, paying very high prices for your book and getting very small margins. If you do that, you're not going to do anything. You have to have a much higher mindset of what you want to accomplish, what you want to do, and the quality of work you're going to be producing. So, and last thing, out of all of it, for me, none of it is more important than, really who you are and just doing the right thing, treating people right. And for me, like I said, my first book, Humpty Dumpty After the Fall, first time I wrote it, it was all about giving glory to God. And And I just want everyone to know that for me, I don't want to be like ashamed of my belief or anything like that. But really, if you can really focus on God and make sure that you always try to do the right thing, do things the right way, and help people, then I think your chances of success go way up. And I'm not saying that God wants you to be rich or be successful, but but I think that it is important that you always are trying to do the right thing, because there's going to be so many temptations to go the opposite way and do the wrong thing. So I just encourage people to be careful with that and don't just try to take the easy way out or something and go the wrong path. So
Yeah, don't shortcut it. I definitely agree with that, and I really appreciate your time today, and thank you for all your input. And I would love to have you on for a follow-up in a few months and talk to you offline.
That'd be great.
Another time.
That'd be wonderful. It was great talking to you too.
You too, Wood Tea, and Wood Tea's website is woodtee.com. All right. Well, thank you, and take care, Wood Tea.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.